Hello there, I'm Fintusius, and you probably didn't expect to see me here with a camera today, and honestly neither did I, because it is 2 AM on EU times, but a new PTR build just hit the servers, and well, it's time to read some patch notes. So thankfully I have my little friend, the monster. Oh, let me just do this. Oh, no. Alright. Otherwise, I would probably never make it through the night. So, cheers, and let's have a look at those. Yeah. Now we can game. So, Deathknights. PvP talents. Blood for blood. Which sacrifice sacrifice to 15% of total health to increase the damage done by a hard strike by 60% for 12 seconds. This actually got removed, and nobody even played Blood Deathknights in PvP anyway, so it makes no difference. And that's because it got changed. But it is basically the same thing. It is technically a buff, but nobody's probably gonna play Blood Deathknights in PvP anyway. It is very much underclassed by classes such as the Guardian Druid in RPGs or the Vengeance Demon Hunter. Next up we have the Decomposing Aura change, which is from what I see, it is just actually... Well, it's just a 2 yards nerf. And also it's not available to Unholy anymore. Alright, so basically the aura has been removed from Unholy, so what did Unholy get instead? Let's have a look next. Reduce the cooldown of Dancing Green Weapon instead of the duration. And its duration by 25%, alright. But then again, this is Blood Deathknight PvP talents, so nothing too shiny here. There's not a lot of meat to cover. All enemies within the yards. This has also been... Alright, Necrotic Auras only on Holy Deathknights now, alright. This means the Frost Deathknight also lets Unholy the aura, which means the Frost Deathknights, if they haven't received any new changes, they're probably in a bad spot. But having said that, we have Strangulate, a 5-second silence, which is now available through all specs. This is really good. We can see it's just a 15-yard range. So it's less than it was for the Blood counterpart, but you probably never seen that anyway, as I was mentioning that before. So rejoice, Deathknights now have a silence effect. They used to have one, but was removed. I honestly don't remember when. But it's been a while since they actually had Strangulate. It's a 15 yards, 5 seconds. This is actually really good. It's really good. But will it be enough for Deathknights to be good? Let's just continue and we'll see about that. But that is really good. Alright, new PvP talent, Bitter Chill for Frost Deathknights. Chains of Ice reduce the target's haste by 12%. Frost Strike refreshes the duration of Chains of Ice. Chains of... what? Oh, this is ridiculous. They removed the Hardstop aura because everybody hated the fact that you had everything slowed down, all the GCDs on your abilities had longer cooldowns, so now instead they're reducing your haste by 12%, making you feel like you're playing on Classic. And on top of that, you're permanently in Chains of Ice because you're going to be refreshing it with Frost Strike, which is your spender ability. This is nasty. It's also definitely good. I mean, you lose Necrotic Aura, but you gain this, and you gain Strangulate on top, and probably your third talent's going to be Chill Streak, obviously. Alright, let's then continue, because maybe we can see there's a lot more things with Deathknights, so that's quite a thing. Cadaverous Pallor. This was removed. Was it removed? It looks like it was removed. Honestly, nobody ever played with it. Makes no real difference. So let's move on. What else? The Dead of Winter has been changed to, and its red is reduced to 5. Oh. Dead of Winter has been buffed as well. But it's the cooldown reduction, sorry, the increase of the cooldown of the ability on Remorseless Winter remains. And that talent was extremely good in Legion. when I believe that's when it was introduced, which basically meant every single time you had the Remorseless Winter, it allowed you to make an AoE stun on the entire team. That was really good. Like Frost Deathknights were really good in Legion. But that nerf actually was pretty nasty for them, which is exactly why they never play with that talent anymore. But I don't think it's definitely something they might look for when they combo it with the Blinding Slate combo and the Chill Streak. But I'm definitely way bigger of a fan of the Strangulate and the Bitter Chill new PvP talents. Alright, let's continue. Death Chill. Death Chill was the root buff on the Death Knight abilities, which has been buffed as well, but just the range. So basically, it's better than it was, but it's not exactly a play talent for the same reason I just said, which is that's the problem with a lot of PvP specs and PvP classes, is that they have a lot of good PvP talents, but they have, that's exactly the problem. They have a lot of good PvP talents, and they require some of those talents in order for them to be like competitive. Like I don't imagine playing a Frost DK without being actually playing without Chill Streak, right? It's like the entire idea of Frost DK. What makes them, what's their DPS all about? If they had no Chill Streak at the moment, it would be pretty, sad Death Knights. So yeah, this is obviously an interesting buff. I don't think it's worth it, especially for the new talents, but it's definitely, if you want, you can go with RPGs and root half the entire team. I mean, 8 yards is not that big, but it's still better than 5, right? Alright, let's move on. Delirium. Delirium is something a lot of monk players, and actually Paladins, they really don't like that spell, and with the upcoming rise of the Mistweaver monks in the next season, with the 9.1 buffs, as of right now, they still haven't been nerfed or changed at all. There's a big chance this talent might come back into play. Howling Blast now. Howling Blast applies Delirium, reducing the cooldown recovery by 50. Huh. Alright, so it's basically a flat-out big buff to Delirium. You have the 50% debuff instantly just from Howling Blast. It doesn't stagger anymore for 12 seconds. Yeah, so there's just a big buff to Delirium. Which is really going to be a pain for those Mistweavers, and yeah, mainly Mistweavers. But it's yeah, a lot of Death Knights used to play Delirium as well. So that's a pretty good buff, but it's I don't know. Yeah, it feels like it really does feel like they're not as dead as people thought they would be with the Strangulate, because this means that you could. This means that we can do the Blinding Slate, then the Syndragosa, then have the Chains of Ice of this on those people, and you also have a Silence on top, and then you also have Delirium. But you also, I mean, you had it before, right? You have the target's haste. Yeah, I don't know. I guess It feels like playing with the Death Knights now is going to be trying to get a nice Blinding Slate Chill Streak setup. Maybe even with the Dead of Winter talent, with a bigger range, maybe you can make it work. But yeah, since you have your silence available, then you can definitely be way more aggressive on those combos. The cooldown is of 1 minute. Yes, it is. So basically, you just line up every single cooldown, and you're gonna probably use it on this healer after that. So yeah, doesn't look half as bad. The hard stop, the loss of the hard stop aura right now, it doesn't really look like it's a big deal. So let's move on. Death Knights are on the rise, and Transfusion has been removed. This is something a few Death Knights like to play in twos, if you actually manage to see a Death Knight in twos. So we'll see. We'll see if there's anything else. So let me move on. Unholy could definitely use some love. I've got a lot of sad Unholy Death Knight friends, and actually my Unholy Death Knight alt also is pretty sad. Sudden Doom also causes your next death coil to burst up to 2 festering wounds and reduce the target's movement speed of 45% per burst. Wait, what? Sudden Doom also causes your next Death Coil. Sudden Doom is the Death Coil proc from an Holy Deathknights. It causes your next Death Coil burst up to 2 festering wounds and reduce the target's movement speed by 45% per burst. It isn't stated if this stacks. So this is something I will have to check, and we'll definitely get back to you once all the classes and their changes have been, well, announced. But even if it's not, it's the same problem as with Frosty case. Like, basically, on Holy Deathknights, they always have to use the anti-magic and PvP talent. They have to use the Raise A-Bomb. And the third one was usually the, either the, well, Necro Strike in the past, before it got nerfed, or like in the current meta, is basically useless because people do so much damage and the nerfs from BFA are still a thing, so Necrotic Strike is pretty useless. So instead of Necrotic Strike, you just played Necrotic Aura, right? But again, like, you don't exactly see a lot of on Holy Deathknights, so they're gonna need more than just this. Alright, Life and Death. When targets afflicted by the change, alright, Violent Plague are healed, you also have 5% of the amount. I've tested that in the past. Even if they change the Violent Plague, I mean, it's a nice thing, but it's also 5%. It's really insignificant. I doubt this makes any change at all. Yeah, let's keep that in mind. Let's see what else there is in store. Necrotic Strike removed. Why? Why? I mean, yeah, it's used. I mean, alright. Let's see what's this. Alright, before I start talking. Necrotic Wounds. Bursting a festering wound converts it into a necrotic wound, absorbing 5% of all healing received for 12 seconds and healing you for the amount absorbed when the effect ends. When the effect ends. Max 6 stacks. Adding a stack does not refresh the duration. Wait a second, this is actually insane. Bursting a festering wound, which means this is your normal rotational. Well, that's the whole point of Unholy Deathknights. You're bursting festering wounds. Converts into necrotic, absorbing. So not only you do the damage of the necrotic wound, but you also absorb. Oh, and it heals you. Wow. That's actually really good. It's like Necrotic Strike, but better. You don't lose DPS. It's like there's like no downside to this. And also you absorb the healing through that absorption. It's really good. It's really good. And it's a festering wound, which means the Doom Burst is going to... You can use now... This means you can use Necro Strike in range now. The Death Coil. This also opens up the new legendary possibilities and new talent choices with the Death Coil, which previously in PvP was pretty useless. This is actually really good. This is the kind of change that can definitely make Unholy Deathknights from like terrible tier to very viable tier. I don't know. I'm gonna have to test this one out, but this is very good news. And you have the Strangulate, right? This is a null. It's a null spec talent, which means as long as you and also Raise A-Bomb got nerfed, but honestly, Raise A-Bomb like right now doesn't really feel worth it anymore with this. Are you kidding me? You just played Doom Burst, Necrotic Wounds as your second choice, and your third choice is obviously Strangulate. 100%. And instead of Doom Burst, because it's like a win more scenario, right? It's not required. It's very cool to have. I would probably play as long as you don't have any casters. But if you do, you probably just play the bigger anti-magic zone. It's definitely a better idea. All right, that's really good. That's super good for Unholy players. I'm glad. I would definitely like to play my Death Knight as well, because they're not exactly in a great spot right now. Sadly, we're probably gonna have to wait 2 more months for the patch to release. But yeah, there are things to look forward to at least. Death's Advance. What did it change? Get changed. There's a charge now. This implies there's something with the charge now. Oh. General. Oh, wait. New PvP talent, general PvP talent, all specs. Death's Advance, Death and Decay, and Death Grip can have one additional charge. Remember when I said about the going into the on the priest on those Frost Death Knight grips? Yeah. Now you have 2 grips for them to never get away. And the grabby hands if you're playing a Necrolord. You don't even have to play Necrolord now. Doesn't seem like it's worth it. You have Death and Decay. I know this is going to be a meme, what I'm gonna say. But Death and Decay is upgraded if you play Night Fae, right? As a Death Knight. And it's actually a viable spell for Frost Death Knights. It's a viable covenant. It's very much underused. But I've seen a TSG play Night Fae Death Knight at like 2k7, 2k8. Like a month or 2 ago, because obviously nobody plays at high rating anymore. This means that you would have those big obliterate cleaves on 2 targets as a Frost Death Knight, thanks to that way more often. And the double Death Grip, and the Death's Advance. This is also really good. Like this is the like, yeah, versus like casters you play the big zone, and versus the melee cleaves you just play Death and Decay and the Death Grip one. You can assist your healer with this. You can get out easily, more easily with Death's Advance, and you have double Death and Decay. I'm not even kidding. With this talent alone, it feels like if you're playing Frost, it is actually it's a very good idea to actually try out Night Fae. No joke. Because it also buffs your strength. I believe the Coven is also getting buffed in the next patch. That's really good. At the very least, it's very cool. It's very cool. It's nice they didn't just abandon this the Death Knight, because they weren't exactly looking great. Alright, let's see. We have another thing. Rune of Spell Warding is applied to you with 100% increased effect. Alright, so that's an interesting one. Because the Rune of Spell Warding is one of the new rune forges of the Death Knight, which got introduced with Shadowlands release. However, sadly, they actually were extremely undertuned, and they still are. Which is exactly why you never saw them. There's also a debuff that you get whenever you swap out weapons. So you cannot juggle weapons like you would in like Warrior playing TBC or after the Lich King. Because there's like a 30-second debuff from those enchants, and people just play Rune of the Fallen Crusader. So, I don't know. On paper, this looks very cool. But I don't think the 100% is going to be enough to be viable, because why would you play this when you can just play the big anti-magic zone instead, right? All of those changes we have with the PvP talents we just read, they're all very good. Like, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the Blood Death Knight, because it's just like, it's not exactly a serious spec, right? It's probably never going to be, at least not from those changes. This is not the kind of stuff that will make them viable as a tank. But it's the same problem as with a lot of other specs. There's too many cool PvP talents. They're great. A vast majority of them are great. But here's the thing: like, some classes are just better than others without those PvP talents in PvP. So using balance patches like this one, and just using PvP talents to, try to buff those classes, or like make them better or like relevant, whatever. It feels like the people designing this, they don't take into account that you only have the limited 3 slots of those talents, and yeah, it's you don't have place for all of this, and you would like to have place for all of this. Just like Necrotic Wounds feels like something you would really want to have baseline as an Unholy Death Knight, right? Really fits the theme out of every other possibility. Just like Strangulate, right? And it used to be it used to be baseline 100%. I don't remember when it was removed, but like it used to be a baseline Death Knight spell. It was obviously available in Wrath of the Lich King because Death Knights had literally everything in Wrath of the Lich King. But yeah, hopefully maybe the designers one day they'll look into the fact that some specs and classes could definitely use some help outside of just PvP talent tuning. If you're following what I'm saying. All right. Well, good news, Death Knights. You both Frost with the Night Fae and the double cleave and the Frost changes are looking pretty good, especially with the rise of the upcoming rise of the Mistweaver monks. At least that's how I feel. You can definitely quote me on that in a month or two, if I'll be right. But most of the time, I don't miss the mark too far off. And Unholy is looking great. Like, yeah, I would definitely try this out, and I don't think it's a meme. I very much believe this is going to work out well, especially since Death Knights are definitely the melee spec that deals with enemy caster cleaves a bit better than like a ret or like a ret, right? That's my best experience. So yeah, I believe this is going to be well, those are all just good changes. How good this will going to be, we're gonna have to see and play out. Obviously, as you can see, every single week there's a lot of changes to all the classes all the time. But for now, most classes, basically most specs that have been like on the lower end have definitely been buffed by quite a bit. So now this includes from all the past weeks. You can also check out the videos I did on my main YouTube channel. But this includes, from my memory, just like Frost Mages, like Demo Warlocks, Destruction Warlocks, Demon Hunters a bit as well, Fury Warriors. Like these are Outlaw Rogues, like all specs that like don't really exist at the moment, with the exception, of course, of like Destruction and Frost in some cases. But overall, they're not like the top performing specs for a vast majority of players. So that's what I mean. They're trying to do that. All right, let's continue. Just a small change to Demon Hunters. Consume magic. This is what we saw last week. Now affects... Oh no. Did they remove this? No, they didn't. Oh, they removed the spectral sight allows you to slip into shadows. So I guess the shadow meld effect, they didn't enjoy it. Oh, that's pretty bad. That was actually pretty good. Now it grants leech for 5% for 5 seconds. Consume magic. What cooldown is consume magic? It's really short. It's basically almost 100% uptime. Alright, then that talent is not terrible. It's not as good as it could be in some situations. Yeah, I don't know. 5% seems a bit too small. It's definitely something to help their survivability, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Not sure. Would have to see how the damage works out in the next season. But it's definitely something that could be played. Definitely something could be played, but it's not as groundbreaking as everything else. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're gonna do so much damage than the 5% combined with the other 5% talent they have from their passive leech, making it 10%. Maybe that's going to be a lot. Definitely needs to be checked out in during gameplay sessions. Alright, let's move on. We have Cellar Drift as a PvE for balance. Hot Stall for the blah blah, which is a PvE nerf. You can expect the PvE, you can expect Twitter to explode. Balanced Druids players like to, they like to cry a lot about their spec. So definitely you can expect that. I will not go into details about balanced Druids in PvE because I do not know the numbers, except that this is obviously a nerf. Let's see PvP talents. Prickling Thorns deals... Oh no, the Thorns damage got removed. Why? If you weren't aware, this talent was like this is what made Necrolord Boomkin possible. If you weren't aware, you can actually play on Necrolord Boomkin to a decent level. I have a friend playing it at like 2k8 on EU servers at the moment, and I can tell you that 2k8 at the moment it's really high. The ladder is extremely competitive. Like you're facing rank 1 players all the time at 2k8, 100%. And the idea is that with the Necrolord Swarming Mist, I believe the ability is called. No, I don't think that's... basically, the dot swarm, which increases your dot damage. So you took this talent and the other talent that made it that the root no longer breaks so easily from damage. And people just died in the root when they got root beam without a trinket. That was pretty funny when I saw that. It is actually a viable strategy as long as your as long as your enemy team has no form of like Blessing of Freedom dispel to dispel the thorns. Sorry, not the thorns, the roots. Or they're basically not aware. Like they see their healer in the CC and a root beam, so they don't expect the healer to die because the healer is technically the one that is just CC, right? So I'm pretty sad. I don't know why they did that change. Like it was just like a cheese stuff. I almost feel I would almost guarantee you that the designers don't even know that this interaction is a thing. I don't know. Feels like it's a weird change, to be honest. Starburst, new PvP talent, balance, approximately 7.5 procs per minute. All right, Starfall. All right. Has a chance to call down collapsing stars. Enemies that come into contact with the star cause it to burst, knocking up nearby enemies and dealing a lot of spell power arcane damage. Generates astral power. Alright, this looks overtuned. This looks ridiculous. I mean... I mean, I doubt you play it in arenas ever, unless like with the upcoming buffs, because Affliction Warlocks got their dot damage buffed by a lot. In Afflictions, the dot damage will now actually be dot damage, because as of right now, they're really just killing people with Dark Soul and just spamming Malefic Raptors, but like dots on their own don't really do that much. So maybe you're gonna play a Starfall after all in arenas. Maybe you will. But regardless of that, you can definitely try this out in the RBGs, which is honestly, I don't get this talent because Boomkins were already out, like they're already like kings of RBGs. This is just buffing them even more. Yeah, definitely these Druid changes are not... This is the kind of scenario when I would love to have like the developer comment, you know? To at least have some insight to the stuff he was saying. Sorry, not saying, thinking when doing this kind of change. Alright, yeah. This 280% of spell power is really, it's a really high amount. So, I'll get back to you once I see how much damage that actually does, but probably gonna get nerfed from what I can tell. I would at least assume so. Hunters, Wailing Arrow. This is the Sylvanas Bow legendary effect. What's the change? It got removed until cancelled. Alright, I guess they don't know what they want to do with the legendary bow as of right now. So I'm not gonna cover this. Basically the Sylvanas, the last boss of the next raid, is supposed to drop a legendary item, a legendary bow available just for hunters, which is going to give you a new ability, the same way you would get a new ability from artifact weapons in Legion, which is going to give you a Wailing Arrow that is going to do an AoE silence of 5 seconds. As of right now, from all we know, this will actually work in PvP, but if they're going to change that, then they're going to change that. This is just a heads up for you. We don't know what they're going to do in the end. Alright, anime powers from Mage. Not going to cover this. Mistweaver has an instant attack speed. I'm not sure what this change actually means. But yeah. Doesn't look like a change for me. Maybe there's something more down the line. Alright, Paladins. That's a lot of nerfs. Jesus. What is this? This is an 8% nerf to all damage and healing done. For Holy Paladins. Alright, alright. Then it's basically an 8% damage nerf for all Holy Paladins abilities. And on top of that, another 10% on Judgment, Hammer of Wrath, and Ashen Hallow. Well, that's basically it's a 20% nerf for the biggest hitting abilities of Paladins. which is obviously a big hit. But having said that, Holy Paladins are not ahead of other healers by 20%. They're ahead, but like 60, while also doing very good healing. But also, when they're playing Ash and Hell, it's a ridiculously strong healing cooldown for raids. And also ridiculously good cheese strategy for arenas with Hammer of Wrath hitting for 20k. As a healer, keep that in mind. I've seen that and I've witnessed that. I got killed by that. That is how I know. Yeah, this is obviously a good change because Holy Paladins definitely need that damage to get nerfed, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. They're still going to be ahead, to be honest. They are still going to be ahead if this is the only damage change the healers will receive. Infusion of Light. My god, will they actually change Infusion of Light to something that's gonna work? They reduce the cost of your next Flash of Light by 30%, which is the same as it right now. And now, or cause your next Holy Light to generate 1 Holy Power. Yeah, I'm sorry, Blizzard. That's like 2 years now that this core Holy Paladin passive is useless. This is not going to change anything. You never want to cast either Flash of Light or Holy Light in PvE at the moment. There's no reason to do it. It heals for nothing. It costs a lot of mana. It casts for too long. By the time you finish that cast, people are already topped off. But now that I think of it, it's actually a nerf to PvP. Because Holy Light is the only place you ever use Holy Light as a Holy Paladin is actually in PvP, thanks to the Light's Grace talent and like Divine Favor, and that's when you actually use Holy Light from time to time. Oh, this is awful. Oh, this is actually awful. I mean, it's not only it makes no difference for PvE, because you're not going to cast the spell anyway, even with that change. There's no reason to. It's not worth it. But it's also nerfed to PvP, and those kind of changes are they're never made with the intention and like thinking about the PvP aspect, you know? Oh, that's really bad. That is actually pretty bad. Crusaders might also got nerfed. But when you had a lot of haste, this nerf doesn't exactly do anything. You still have available, you still have a lot of Holy Shocks available all the time. And if anything, a build that is starting to become popular, especially when you're playing a Ventier Holy Paladin, is with the Marad's Dying Breath legendary, which consists around playing with Light of Dawn and Light of the Martyr, I believe the spell is called, which is a superb playstyle. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend. This is very fun to play. I loved it when it was introduced in Legion, and I still love it now when I actually play my own Holy Paladin. But this nerf also, well, as I was saying, probably not going to do anything. So, yeah, they just, TLDR, they just nerfed Holy Paladin's damage. They also, as a result, they also nerfed them in PvP, their healing power in PvP. Yeah, things are not looking good for Holy Paladins. Especially when you think about the changes they received last week. Yeah, Holy Paladins are not looking well right now. Honestly, they're just like from the top of my head, they're looking like the worst healer in PvP in the next season. They went from the top to getting nerfed like 6 times, and now they'll probably be at the bottom. We'll see, obviously, right? Every single week, the next best, it's not even clickbait material, like the next best class is usually, it comes out after like a new PTR build. But this is, this doesn't look like a good time for Holy Paladins. We'll see. We'll see. Don't quote me on that. Everything can change. But these are definitely PvP nerfs. 100%. Alright, Protection Paladin received a nerf to Flash of Light. Why? Is it a nerf to Flash of Light? Or is it just a result of aura changes? General spells. Never mind. It's just some value changes. Flash of Light for Retribution. And the protection stays the same. Yeah, it's probably because of the... Oh, you now Crusader Strike now costs more mana. Wow, woohoo. For Retribution. Yeah. Interesting change. I'm not sure who made this kind of makes this kind of stuff. No difference whatsoever. All right. New legendary power for Holy Paladins. Vanquish's Hammer. Is there anything? No, it's just a wording change. All right. So I'll just recap. This new legendary power will actually make Necrolord Paladins, at least for they're still going to be pretty bad for protection in PvE. They're still probably going to be, because Light of Dawn, World of Glory, they don't really interact with each other. I don't know. Maybe if Holy Paladins keep getting nerfed, maybe play Necrolord with like the Shadowbreaker legendary for Holy Paladins, maybe it's gonna work out. But yeah, like don't keep your hopes up, because Ventir Holy Paladin is still a thing. So I doubt this ever sees play, as long as Ventir is so superior to everything else. And having said that, this is actually viable for Retribution Paladin, both in PvE and PvP. So if you ever are tired of Divine Toll, even though a lot of Paladins players probably feel like it's their new Convoke from Druids, like they cannot live without Divine Toll anymore, I can assure you that Necrolord Paladins with this legendary are definitely strong, definitely viable. I would love to change and have some fun on my Paladin. But we all know the lovely Covenant system, so that's not going to happen anytime soon, unless I finally get to play my second Paladin, which is probably what I'll do. So yeah. Oh look, the Night Fae legendary has been changed for the 5th time, and let's see how bad it got changed now. Blessing of the Season's effectiveness increased by 100% after 10 seconds? This effect lasts for 10 seconds? What is this for? What's the intent behind this? Yeah, this doesn't really make any sense. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, we know how it's gonna work out, but no. Don't expect this to make it to the live game, and if it does, then it's probably not worth anything. Or maybe it is. Increased by 100%. The biggest value you can get from this is from a big burst from a DPS, but it also means you don't have your own DPS when you use this, because you don't really have anything out of the buffs for yourself. They're not that powerful. And it would increase... Wait, does it increase all seasons? I guess it increases all seasons. Maybe I spoke too fast. It would increase healing duty on yourself by 60% if you were to cast it on a healer that tries to heal himself. Maybe it's not that terrible. Alright, so let me rephrase what I said. This is not as bad as the previous versions, but I don't think it's enough for Night Fae Paladins to be a thing. Because please remember, you have the Kyrian Paladins for all specs, which are absolutely wonderful everywhere. And you also have Ventir Protection and Holy, basically Ventir Paladins as well. It's like so good. So if anything, the Night Fae could technically work out in PvP. But again, you have Divine Toll. And you also have the new Divine Toll Legendary and the new Divine Toll PvP talent. And like, there feels like there's no reason to not play Kyrian. But it's I guess it's a step in the right direction, but probably not enough. Alright, let's continue. This was a new PvP talent for Discipline Priests, Inner Light and Darkness. And it now actually has a 12-second cooldown. So you cannot swap from one to the other. All right. Is there a downside from having that? There's no downside, so it's not a big deal. You just cannot swap in and out all the time. I do not know if it occurs a global cooldown. It probably does. Hopefully it doesn't. Doesn't sound like it would be cool. Sounds like something that could be a swap stance from Warriors. But yeah, I guess it's cool to know. All right. Interesting change. Symbol of Hope. Holy. Now we're gaining 18% of their missing mana. That is actually really good. That is so good. They each recover a 60... That's the previous buffed version. They each recover 60 seconds of a major defensive ability and regain 80% of missing mana over 5 seconds. This is really good. This is really good. Let me say that for the 3rd time. This is actually really good. This change feels like you might see Holy Priests in the competitive high-end raid for the first time since a long time. Obviously, don't quote me on this, but this definitely makes them, this pushes them outside of just the meme tier for all the high-end players. 18% mana is it's no joke, especially while the mana cost increasing left and right and the inner rates being such a big value for healers. Yeah. Holy Priest rejoice, I guess. There's no downside to it. If anything, you're still going to be better off than you were before. Greater Fate now lasts for 3 seconds instead of 4. This is not new. Mind Games got a charge again. Oh, I don't like this. Maybe I do. You know, we all know what this means. Let's see the powers. Each time you take damage from Shadow or Death while your Fey Guardians are active, your Fairy's effectiveness increased by 25%. Shadow or Death, but you cannot spam Shadow. That's an interesting... You'd have to kill targets all the time. I'm not going to talk about this Lego because the wording is not clear for me. It feels like there's some missing values, so I'm just going to be skipping this one. And Mind Games gains 1 additional charge. And its cast time is it's increased by 50%. But it's reduced. Jesus. Wow. This is really good. The cast time increased by 50% is obviously not ideal, but double Mind Games? Are you kidding me? Do you imagine what this is? Playing Holy Priest or even Disciplined Priest, Shadow Priest with the dot damage buff, an Affliction, and 4 Mind Games in PvP arenas? This is absolutely it's disgusting. I would not want to heal this at all. Absolutely not. Yeah, the cast time obviously is a big of a downside, but it's, if you just set it up properly, it's not a big deal. It's this is really good. Like, priests don't exactly have very good legendary powers for PvP, as in holy priests or disciplined priests. They have some options, but they're not like, you know, extremely like groundbreaking, like revolutionary. You can play like choice number 1, 2, or 3. It's not that big of a deal of a power spike. But this will be 100%. So yeah, if you ever get Mind Games in 9.1, remember that they can Mind Games you twice now. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Shamans. New control of lava. Redesign. Was it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Flame Shark's damage occurs 15% more often. If Flame Shark... Oh, it's also for restoration. Is it? No, it's a bug. Elemental. Right. If Flame Shark is dispelled, the volcanic eruption wells up beneath the dispeller, exploding for 300% of spell power, fire damage, and knocking them into the air. So you're basically getting the volcanic effect from Mythic Plus. Since most healers and most interactions now have a lot of like Dispel protection or like anti-dispel, like with the Mistweaver stuff, with the new Retribution Paladin stuff, talent, with which is a judgment that dispels magical effects on top of the rest, then I don't know. You basically don't know dispel. Well, 300% of spell power is a lot. The question is how much it's. Yeah, this is actually really interesting. It's really interesting. It's also really good. Because that damage looks like it's substantial. 300% of spell power is usually a lot. And if it knocks into the air and like this, and you basically like fly up just like the volcanic multiplier, this needs to be tested. But it's definitely interesting. Interesting as in playable and probably pretty good. All right. What else we have? Oh, we have a 5% nerf on the Shaman talent from last week, which makes it not that good. But 50% almost doesn't seem worth it playing. Like almost doesn't feel worth playing that PvP talent just because you have other good options. I'm not sure if that was necessary. We'll have to see. Rapid Contagion from Affliction Warlocks. damage over time occurs 33% more often. That's a 3% buff, but don't think about it as a 3% buff, because Affliction's damage overall has been buffed by 10, 15, 20% depending on some spells. I will not be bringing you up the values right now because obviously this can change. But this is more than just a 3% nerf buff to the to Affliction's dot damage, because on top of all of these buffs, this is probably more like a 20% damage buff overall. So yeah, Affliction Warlocks, they're gonna be back in great fashion. Like all the Warlock specs. So if you if you didn't like playing against Warlocks before, then you're probably not gonna have a good time in the next season. All right, let's see what you have with the Warriors. The Warriors get their Execute buff again. I think it's the same thing as last week. PvP talents. Overwatch removed. Hello. Oh no. Oh no. They remove Overwatch. They remove Overwatch and they add Priests a double mind games. Oh, that's pretty bad. Oh no. I mean, this change, this nerf for Warriors is definitely needed right now. Warriors are absolutely insane in the current season. But I fear that this is going to... I almost fear like it's going to make the same problem with Demon Hunters they have right now. Which is going to be the fact that Demon Hunters at the end of BFA Season 4 were like super strong thanks to Corruption and all the other Azerite traits and everything. And they were like completely dominant, especially in the 2s bracket. I'm not going to delve into details, but what I'm trying to say is that Demon Hunters got nerfed wildly going into Shadowlands. Especially they felt that change, that nerf in PvP especially, because of the removal of the dodge effect of Blade Dance. Which was a main source of their infinite survivability, in PvP at least. And every other spec and class got buffed, which made as a result, you know, the Demon Hunter was like here, the rest was like here, and the Demon Hunter got like nerfed, and the others got buffed, and this is exactly what happened, right? Oh, I think I blocked my camera angle, but you should get my point, right? They got nerfed, and the others got buffed, and as a result, they became pretty weak. So now in the meta, which definitely favors a lot of casters right now, this is definitely it's pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's a big hit for Warriors. I'm not gonna say it's pretty bad, but it's a big hit. You're probably gonna have to play the Spell Reflect Legendary almost every single time now. So probably going to be much better. They got a new talent though. Charge roots enemies for 2 seconds. Oh look, it's Classic again. Was it in Classic? I think it was in Classic. And emanates a shockwave past the target, rooting enemies in a 10-yard cone. Really? This... You can have fun with it. It's the same thing as I was saying with other the like PvP talent bloat, if I can say that. Because Warriors have a lot of great PvP talents, and it's not that this is bad. It's just that they have Disarm, they have the Banner, they have Death Sentence, which is the charge execute when you're playing Ventier, and most players play Ventier. They used to have Overwatch. What else? They have the improved shout, they have the sharpened blade, which is almost required. Like, they have a lot of good PvP talents, good choices, right? So I just doubt you can fit in Warbringer into this. It's not that powerful on its own. It's definitely cool to have, especially versus like this upcoming Mistweaver Monks. But yeah, I don't think this is gonna see a lot of play. Yeah, that's about it. I'm not gonna look into anime powers. Nobody cares. Not going to bore you with that. And yeah, this is going to be it. Thank you for watching. This has been super long. This was also my first time doing this kind of stuff on camera. So thank you for watching. If you actually stayed and watched my commentary, I'll be very thankful if you hit the like. Maybe comment down below if you feel like I did a good job. If you also feel like I did a terrible job, then you can also tell me that. I'll be pretty sad, but I will take all forms of criticism. I'll try to do my best for the future. And yeah, as I was saying, the reason I did this in this manner and fashion, contrary to the ones I usually do on the main channel, is because I'm working on a lot of new videos at the moment, and I just don't have the time to do everything I want as good as I'd like to. So if this kind of video format is going to work, it's going to work out for you and for me, that'll be great. I'd love doing those. As you can see, I love talking about the game, even when there's not a lot of content going into it. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it, and maybe see you on the next week if we have a new PTR build. Hopefully we will. And you can definitely stay subscribed here for more daily uploads. You can expect more arena footage coming in soon, and there's going to be new PTR testing as well. I believe tomorrow. So you can also expect footage of those bosses in probably 2 to 3 days. All right, thank you for watching. Yeah, I got a little bit stressed out in the end. Sorry. Have a wonderful day, evening, night. It is 3 a.m. here after all. Bye-bye.